A few years back, I wouldn't have told you anything about big data or perfect fit, but life is changing, and I want to share my personal story on how, from being a manual tester, what steps I had to take to become more data-savvy tester in a company which is creating data-driven merchandising solutions. So, originally, I'm coming from Lithuania, and I started my career in a big company. So Andreas, in the very first presentation, said that schools are called, one of them is factory. I didn't know that I would use that, but I think it was sort of a factory kind of school, because I joined manual testing department, and that department was driven by test scripts, or some people call it test plans, meaning that they are documents with every single step you should take, and then it says, hover on this button, verify it is red, and then you write big pass. So even if we did some exploratory testing, it was mainly test scripts and sort of monkey job, as you may feel like. And because it was a big company, there were some tester tribes. And what I mean here is that testers sit together, testers have lunch together, and testers whine together. So if developer is not doing something, well, you know, I have a friend, a fellow tester, and we can talk about it and say, yeah, he did the same to me. And in this sense, you all may know Three Amigos concept. I don't think I had Three Amigos concept there, because my amigos were the same kind as me, fellow testers. And this was done on architectural software. I was very grateful to work there, and it was a great foundation, because even in factory you can find some good points. But I decided to change my life, and drastically. So I moved to a country where I have never been before. My boss met me in the airport, and it was Hungary. And I started working at a complete opposite of what I had before, which was a startup. And I like to say that I did magic testing, because it did not include just manual or just automated. There was so much data analysis as well. And when I joined, I was the first full-time tester. There was no tester before me, so naturally there were no testing documents at all. I could build whatever I wanted there. And I was lone Amiga tester, and I had to break all my walls. So if before I had fellow testers that I could discuss with or be angry about other departments, I was alone now. And I was sitting with people who were so different from me. There was product management, there was development, there was front-end, back-end, and we were all sitting in the same room. So as the result, in those 2 years, actually, I made many amigos. So not only 3, as by definition, but we actually are such a diverse team, and we could collaborate together. And the last part, it was fashion industry. Sounds exciting, right? So our partners are very big fashion retailers, mainly in the US. So talking about fashion, how many of you shop online for clothes or shoes? Okay, not that many. And even if you don't shop online, how many of you think that the main risk of shopping online for clothes or shoes is that your size will not fit? Yep, way more. So this is exactly what we are working with. So my company is working to create fit solutions like this. I will give you a short demo here. So you can see Fit Predictor, and those of you who shop online may find this image very familiar. It's a product page, and you want to buy this amazing sweater. But this is my company's sweater, and you have no idea what kind of sizes we sell. So there is Fit Predictor. Oh, okay. Apologies for this look, because presentation mode doesn't work. So you may all be familiar with this view, because this is product detail page. And there is this tool which could help you to understand what size you should buy for this item. So if you actually bought this item, you bought in this website before, you could just log in and your past purchases would appear here and we would make a prediction. However, we do not have that. So let's calculate our size. So you can see it's very basic UI and it says choose a designer, and we choose a designer that we bought before, category, and the size. And it calculates that for this item, based on what we added, we should buy a medium, right? And we call this a seed, and it's your fit profile that makes the prediction. So you can have many seeds in your fit profile. And I started working with this product. So this was something that I had to test. So how would you test this product? It looks very basic, right? So as a tester, I may see this UI, and I understand that this option list is limited. So I could basically select all of them. I could select all categories. I could select all sizes as well. Talking about UI, it's also very basic. So I can add more seeds. I can remove seeds. And it looks very simple. But let's move forward. So as you can see here, there are more products like that. So we have many sweaters there, and not only this one product. So for example, here there are 6,700 items on this category page. And there are way more categories. So we have many categories, not only sweaters there. And every category has many items in it. So in the end, when we look at this situation, we just see this one red dot in the universe of dots, because we just checked one product, but there are so many more products that we have to check. So let's look at some numbers. So Fit Predictor has more than 10 million products in the system. How am I going to make sure that all of them work as a tester? And then how many users we have with Fit Profiles? As we profiled in the very start, apologies, we have 70 million users like that. And how many size recommendations on average do we make per second? Sorry. Again, yep, okay, I'm back. So, on average, we make 320 predictions, which means since I started talking and all those technical difficulties, we made thousands of predictions already. So how can I make sure as a tester that they are actually correct? So here we are facing the biggest challenge of data-driven product testing. It is too big to test every individual case. And of course, naturally, as just a manual tester, I had way more questions than answers. I didn't know what makes one product have a Fit Predictor and another don't have it. What if partner changes their website? There's so much of integration testing going on because they could screw up all our UI. And I wasn't alone. So I really wanted to share this cartoon with you. It's from Cartoon Tester, and it displays testers versus the rest, pre-agile and post-agile. And I believe that in many big companies, pre-agile feeling still exists with those tribal wars between testers and developers. However, when I joined this startup and there were no other testers, there was such love feeling because we were all working together for something bigger than us, something more important, which was a quality-like product. So when I joined, even if I was alone, we decided to have testing weekly meeting, which still happens up to this day on Wednesdays. And it's not only me who attends, so you know. So there is CTO, there is senior backend developer, senior frontend developer, and the head of engineering. And there we discuss the future of testing department and what should we do in the long run. So I wasn't alone in this way, and we decided to do something and actually create some plan for the future. But we had to start somewhere. And this picture is actually taken in Belgium, in Liège. It's called Mountain de Buren. It has 374 steps. So when I was climbing this, of course, I stopped for about 5 times, and that's why this picture was taken, because I was too tired to climb ahead. And actually, when I had the interview with my current boss, she asked me, how do I feel when I have many tasks on my plate? What do I do then? And well, I said, my motto is step by step. I start somewhere, and then step by step, I move forward. And she called me a little old, wise Chinese man. So I actually really like this saying, and I believe that, we always have to start somewhere, not to overwhelm us. So the starting step had to be something that I know, which was manual testing. And we did have UI issues. You can see one of them now here. So I could find a lot of Easter eggs like that. So at the very starting step, what I did was I did cross-browser testing on various devices. This hasn't been done thoroughly before at all. And I could find lots of issues there. And most of the testing was actually done based on product requirements. So there were some documents written by product, which of course were not implemented fully. So we could actually perfect product requirements and UI. But of course, this wasn't perfect, and it was so time-consuming. I couldn't just do it physically every single day and make sure that UI hasn't changed on multiple sites. And it was limited. I would just see UI, and I still didn't know what happens, why product is supported, why it isn't supported. And I couldn't scale it. It was not scalable. And as we talked before, it's impossible to test all. And when I started as the first full-time tester, there basically was no testing awareness in the company. So people didn't know what I'm doing. And even if I started with this UI testing and product-based testing, product management and front-end did learn who I am, what I do, that they can trust me. But back-end or account management or salespeople still were not sure what I'm doing, and they would use, please QA this. And my blood would burn. But we were not actually scared to improve. And I thought that even if I know just manual testing right now, we should move forward somehow and learn some automation. I had great collaborators or helpers and who helped me to choose tools. So we decided to choose Java-based Selenium WebDriver. And when I first actually started playing around with this, and it started clicking around all the things instead of me, I was so excited. I was even calling it my little Selenium robot, and I showed it to all the people. And this was done with JUnit, so of course we had assertions, and we integrated it with BrowserStack for remote browsers usage, and Jenkins so we could schedule the tests to run. But one of the most important things in this was GitHub. So I was the only tester, and Java was the language. I didn't program before, and my code had to be reviewed, and it had to be done by a senior backend developer who has almost 10 years of experience. I was terrified. I didn't know what I'm going to get. I felt like a child going to a professor for an advice. And yeah, I got 40 comments on my first pull request. But it was very useful, because as a tester, sometimes you may feel that, oh, it's working. So this test is working. So, it's good. But you actually have to make it maintainable in the long run. So you could change it easier. And that programmer actually has helped me enormously. So if you get the chance to get your code reviewed by programmer, please do. It can be very beneficial. So in the result, we actually got nightly automated checks, and they were functional checks running on cross-browsers on every active partner. So we had more than 10 active websites, and we could actually make sure if UI changed overnight or something like that, which happens. And this has added a lot of value and caught issues because fashion retailers really like to change their website. They like to polish their UI. And sometimes it happens even that they change it so much that they override some CSS rules and you cannot open Fit Predictor anymore. So they can really screw up the user experience. And there is a dashboard and people can check it as well. So this has spread awareness a little bit. But there was data layer, and that was a very fascinating part in Fit Predictor. Because since I started, I was thinking, how is that prediction made? What is happening there? And with experience, of course, a lot of questions, I got some answers. So there were data feeds. So each partner would need to send data feeds, for example, product feed. Because we didn't know what products are on the website, and sometimes there are thousands of products. The feed may be daily, and it needs to be loaded, so there are so many running jobs to get it to the system, to make it supported, and so on. And I finally learned where this data is stored. Where can I check a certain product in the system, and how does it look like there? And this helped me to learn what makes products supported, which is a very important KPI for Fit Predictor, because not every one of them can be supported. But even if I could answer for this one red dot why it is supported, I still couldn't answer for the whole more than 10 million products. And sometimes people would ask me, so what is the product coverage on this website? And all I could do would be maybe click around and click through 50 new arrivals and say, well, it's 25 out of 50, so 50%. It wasn't a good metric. It really wasn't. And here I would like to give an analogy that I read in Elizabeth Hendrickson's book, Explore It, where she says that test coverage is like a net. So the denser the net is, the safer your product is, and the less issues are going to pop out. So I believe with manual testing, exploratory testing, automated checks nightly, I did build some kind of loose net, but it definitely wasn't something covering everything. So I still didn't know the main key performance indicators that were important for Fit Predictor. But there was a place, actually, where I could look it up, which was analytics department. So they were actually using lots of technologies, and they were collecting the data for interactions with products. So they didn't know what's happening. However, it was really complex, and this meant that I couldn't find a certain variable, I didn't know in which table it is, and so on. And the data loading took a lot of time. So sometimes it would lag. So it would be 4 days, and new data is still not loaded to the database where we could query that. So production issues happen real time, and they should be caught as soon as possible. So analytics department in this matter didn't really help. And we really had this need for real-time monitoring because the service is 24/7. It's always running. And we had to get some kind of need for visibility because there were other departments as well who wanted to know how is it going? What is the actual quality? What is the coverage of products? And as a result, dev team actually researched and set up a monitoring tool, which was something miraculous in my career because I use this tool every single day now. So this is how it looked like. So this is New Relic Insights, and we have dashboards like this. So what insights we actually got? So they were real-time. If you saw in this, the graphs are from 60 minutes ago. You could even get it from 5 minutes ago and so on. And we got real-time insights, and which I could not measure before, which was product coverage, for example, or people coverage. Are actually users receiving predictions? Maybe it's just me who receives predictions. And even I could see data processes. For example, what data is being loaded, what jobs are being run, and what feeds are we receiving? What is the size of those feeds? And this is an example from data feeds. You can see that we receive products and that it is being processed. And this is very important because if it's not happening, then of course quality is going to go down. So now let's see how I can actually bust issues with a monitoring tool. So you can see a huge drop here. So this happened real time. I knew about it. It wasn't just that it recovered magically. So it was for a specific partner and just for plus variation products. For women, there's plus variation as well. And what happened is that before, there used to be around 50 products on that website for plus variation, and then more products were loaded, so there was more than 200. But of course, they didn't turn supported immediately. This drop happened, and after the jobs ran, they actually got supported. The other interesting example I have is suspicious behavior tracking. So this was very funny thing. So in the very start, we added a seed, so-called, and I actually could even look how many seeds users adding on a certain partner. And this is a certain graph. So blue line is showing this week, and yellow line, which is so low that you may not see it, is showing previous week. And this partner is super small, and not many users are using Fit Predictor. Traffic is low, and usually there would be around 50 seeds added per day. And then once I turn on the system, and I see that more than 10,000 seeds were added that day. Next day, I turn it on again. There's again 10,000. This was super suspicious, so I decided to check what kind of IP it is, because I thought maybe this is some kind of scraper and they are trying to steal data, which is possible. And it actually ended up being the very same IP. So if you check the top 9, it's the same IP, it is based in India, and they are adding lots of seeds. And the last one, which is not the same IP, added 3 seeds in 3 days. So that looks like a regular user for this partner. And then I was like, okay, so if this is a spider or some kind of bot, maybe I could see it in the user agent, so-called browser. And it ended up that all these seeds were added on Internet Explorer 11. This is a very strange browser choice. I wouldn't choose it for my bot or spider. And in the end, actually, what happened is that we decided to block this IP because they are doing something suspicious in our system. And after blocking it, this partner writes in and says, hey, you know, we were doing stress testing in India with manual testers because we are preparing for a TV commercial. So we are thinking that a lot of people will come to our website, they will use Fit Predictor, and the Fit Predictor will crash. Could you please unblock the IP? So we had to unblock it, of course, but it showed our attitude, you know, because usually partners have high standards to us, but we also have to stand up for ourselves. So here I have 3 points how my testing became way better with monitoring tools. So first of all, it became way quicker. So I could find real usage examples. I knew how product is being used, and I had test data on the hand. So here I actually have an example, again, demo, and I will close that table. I don't see. Yes. So if you actually do not have any seeds in your Fit profile, you could just select a size, and we tell you that it's running true to size, for example. So this is the feature that we have. However, some products are actually running large. Then you have to buy a smaller size if you do not have a prediction in general. And other products are running small, so you have to buy a bigger size. And here the thing is that sometimes when you actually browse on the website, it can be difficult to find a certain product which would be, for example, running small. You could find products which are true to size or run large but not run small. So sometimes even if I would look it up in our system, then I would find the product ID and go to the website and search for it. It would be out of stock, for example, or sold out. And now having a real-time monitoring tool, I could very easily just write a very basic query where I specify the feature that I want products which run large, and I can say time frame, which would be 1 day or 1 hour even, and I get a list of URLs because users were visiting those products, so I can use them in my testing. This was very helpful. And then also, you can actually query for specific data problem reasons. So this is very important, and you can track data loading process. And I have an example for the last 2 points now. So this graph is showing the number of requests for a certain partner done on unsupported products and grouped by the reason why they are unsupported. All of them are secret except one. So I will tell you what the blue line is. So the blue line is requests done on missing products. So as you can see, there were almost 700 missing products, and in the end, it was only around 100. And what happened, naturally you could guess, is that products got loaded. So as you can see, around 12 p.m. after that, on May 10th, there was bigger bunch of products loaded, and this is when the improvement happened. Then another very important thing is that monitor data can help you to do more relevant testing. So you can find most popular browsers and devices. You know it per site, so you do not know it only per all the system in general. You can get it per site, and you know your users. And you can find importance of functionalities, so you know what is most important to the users, as well as all of this gives better insight into business. So here is an example of a dashboard that we have for one of the partners. And I'm going to zoom into 3 of these. And first of all, I could, for example, see most popular product categories for this partner per domain. So I can see that in this partner, most of the traffic in the last 2 weeks was going to female tabs. It was 11 million transactions. Well, to compare it, Braz got only 2,000 requests. This means that me as a tester should definitely concentrate rather on more popular domains, which are more visited. Then this graph is showing most popular phone browsers. So as you can see, for this partner specifically, mobile Safari is covering more than 70% of all phone browsers. So if I do not test mobile Safari, then definitely I'm not covering most of the test cases. As well as I can see that in the top there's Samsung Internet, for example, which maybe I wouldn't have tested before if I didn't have this statistic. And in the end, there's this funny graph where we can see device types. And usually now, phone is actually being more used than desktop. But in this graph, it was 50-50 almost. But the funny part here is that there is car. So 2 requests were done in the past 2 weeks on a car. When we looked into that deeper, it was Tesla. So someone was actually shopping on Tesla for clothes or shoes. Okay, and the third part that actually helped my testing a lot is impact evaluation. So a lot of times we as testers may feel that we are neglected because we created so many bugs and they are not getting fixed. However, with having a monitoring tool, you can actually look up the real impact of the bug. So you can build a scenario using monitor data, and you can find the real impact. And this actually gives so much extra value for bug reports. Because if you say that 50% of users in production are facing this issue, it definitely is going to get fixed. But as well, if you find an issue on Internet Explorer 9 that something looks terrible, and then you find that the impact is 0.42%, well, sorry, but you may just relax yourself that it's okay if it's not getting fixed. And the example is that we had this issue that for some shoe products, there was no prediction given at all. So I would put a seed and nothing. It just says, cannot predict. So this was a very annoying one, and we created a scenario and calculated the percentage of users who get this issue. And it ended up being just 1.6% of actual impact. That's super low. But for me as a user, it was very annoying. I was thinking that this product is not functioning at all. So here as a tester, you sort of start seeing that even if for you this problem happens, but it's not happening for most of the users. And in the end, in those 2 years, what did I learn? is that understanding data is definitely understanding the product way better. And I think that I managed to actually do this key performance indicator-based testing, which is very valuable. And this actually spread a way clearer testing awareness. And now people come even from account management, and they know that I have dashboards, that I can tell them what the actual impact is. And even with this, you may have seen that pop up about weekly partner sync. So that is the priorities meeting where I was invited to discuss with CEO and head of engineering the actual problems we are facing. And my testing became quicker, more effective, and relevant when I could use monitor data. And the last point is that there was such a huge communication change. Usually we testers do not win popularity contests. We are not the ones who are weighted always and they come with good news, no. And in this case, now I actually get mentioned on Jira myself. So they just write to me, Lina, could you please tell us the actual impact of this ticket? So this was very useful. And in the end, I want to go back to the same steps that we saw in the start, now with color. And there is a quote that I really love, which says, attempt easy tests as if they were difficult, and difficult as if they were easy. In the one case, that confidence may not fall asleep. In the other, that it may not dismayed. So step by step. Thank you.